Okay folks, we just got back from the Netherlands. So I'm putting together my top list of things to do while you're in the Netherlands. First off, let me just say that I think the Netherlands is like top choice place to go. Super unique. The canals in Amsterdam, the beauty of the landscape throughout the country. So I highly recommend visiting the Netherlands. Let's jump right into some of the broad overview of what we should learn about the Netherlands before we dive into the actual tips of my numbered list. So first, looking at a map, you're going to see the Netherlands located just to the west of Germany, just to the north of Belgium. It's also only about a 1-hour flight from London to get to the Netherlands. And then zooming in further onto the map, and you're going to see the biggest city is Amsterdam. That is the most popular tourist destination within the country, and that's why we're going to spend about 70% of this video about Amsterdam. And then toward the end, we're going to kind of talk about some other tips of other things to do. Maybe it's a road trip from Amsterdam or a train trip that's only going to take you an hour or two to get to some of these other destinations that are great places to visit as well. And then some bonus footage at the end that I want to share with you, so be sure to stick around. So let's dive right into the list, because my number one thing to do in the Netherlands is explore and visit Amsterdam. You have to enjoy this beautiful city. 165 canals around this city.
The most fun thing to do is just walk around these streets, endless streets next to the canals throughout the city, where you're just going to get visuals like this.
Just to give you a bit of history, there was a river, it's still there, called Amstel River, just like the beer, Amstel. They built a dam on the river, and that was called the Amstel Dam. It has since evolved the name, and now it's called Amsterdam. The dam itself was in the city center, which is now a place called
Dam Square, which is kind of the center of the tourist zone in Amsterdam. And there's all kinds of stuff you can think of that's kind of tourist related. Madame Tussauds, you got your different chain stores like H&M, Armani Exchange, Nike.
Like I said, the main tourist zone of shopping, not the quaint boutiques that we're going to talk about later. And just to go back to the map, Amsterdam is kind of shaped like a horseshoe. And in the center of the horseshoe is this zone I'm talking about, which is close to Dam Square. And also within this same center area, not too far from here, is the red light district that we'll talk more about later. And then as you continue to look at the map, looking at this horseshoe, you'll find a river kind of at the top here is IJ River. And it separates Amsterdam into North Amsterdam and South Amsterdam. And probably 95% of what you're going to do in Amsterdam takes place in this south part, south of the river. But number one on my list, obviously explore Amsterdam, walk around, look at the canals, look at the history of the buildings, sit down at a cafe. There's tons of little restaurants and cafes right along the canals. Sit there and have a bite to eat, have a drink, and enjoy the views.
Check out the view.
That is a great way to familiarize yourself when you first get to Amsterdam and kind of get to know the city. But we're going to then dive in deeper of kind of the subcategories of Amsterdam. Number two, biking. It's all about the biking culture in Amsterdam and the Netherlands in general. It's crazy, actually. There's bikes everywhere. There's bikes for carrying kids. There's bikes for carrying pets. Deliveries. There's people who are hauling larger items. There's people who are just riding everywhere, every which way. And in Amsterdam, just so you know, the biking culture is no joke. They take it very seriously. They actually ride very fast along little tiny streets where people are trying to walk that you're not really used to if you're from the US. The bicyclists definitely have the right of way. Whether it's the law or not, I don't think it's that way, but trust me, the culture is such that the bicyclists own the streets. And you need to stay out of the way. We saw this bicyclist, a young guy, probably, a 30-year-old guy, who ran into this little old lady. She was walking, he was on a bike, and he gets off and screams at her for being in his way. So that's kind of that's the culture. Stay away from the bikes, but don't be afraid to actually join in. We actually rented bikes for a day and explored the city. Just make sure you're prepared, and maybe don't go into the busiest areas with the bike and stay kind of in areas where there's more space for you to navigate and move around. But definitely don't be afraid get on a bicycle, explore the city that way. And that brings me to my number 3 recommendation, which is go to a park called Vondelpark. It's the biggest park in the city, and it is a beautiful park, and it's a great place to go when you're on a bicycle. That is one place where you can go where there's plenty of room. The wide roads that are for bikes only, there's some joggers and stuff as well, but it's definitely wide enough that you can be safe and enjoy yourself riding around the park. Beautiful views, there's like water features, ponds, and greenways, and just everything you want. It's just a beautiful park to visit for an afternoon, a couple of hours. In one area of the park, there is even a famous sculpture by Picasso you can check out. So overall, this park is a great place to visit. All right, let's move on to my number 4 recommendation, and in no particular order, it's the Anne Frank house. You most likely know a little about this story of the incredible young Jewish girl named Anne Frank, who at age 13 started writing her famous diary to document her family's life while in hiding from Nazi persecution. When visiting this house, you will see the actual hiding places and living areas of her family. It's a small house, and when visiting, it's really incredible and quite moving. You really get a sense of the amazing courage of this young girl. Now, they don't allow photos or videos of inside the living quarters, but I will show you a few photos from their website. The Anne Frank house is quite popular, so you need to reserve tickets weeks, if not months in advance. You can see here it gets quite crowded and you cannot get in without the reserved tickets, but it is a must-see. Alright, next up is number 5, and probably my favorite thing to do in Amsterdam, the Canal Tour. There are many different companies that offer these tours, some large boats that tend to be a little impersonal, so I like the smaller boat tours a little bit better. They're more friendly and fun. In fact, we loved Canal Tours so much we actually took 2 different tours with 2 different companies. Our first was with a bigger company called Flagship Amsterdam. You'll see them because they have the bright orange shirts and signs. It was perfectly fine, but I really loved the smaller tour we had with Those Damn Boat Guys.
Damn right.
I can't recommend Those Damn Boat Guys enough. Definitely check them out. Either way, you're going to learn a lot of history, you're going to meet nice people, enjoy some food and drink, and overall just relax while cruising around on these historic canals. This brings us to number 6 on my list, Museum Square, not too far from Vondelpark that I mentioned earlier. Museum Square is a large open square with several museums. The largest is the Rijksmuseum, which houses more of your traditional classical art. There is also the Museum of Modern Art behind me that looks like, they say it looks like a bathtub from below. There are several other museums to choose from as well, but we ended up going to the Van Gogh Museum, which I thought was really great and I can highly recommend. All right, number 7 is the famous red light district. You got to check out the red light district when you're in Amsterdam. And it's not as seedy as I guess it once was. It's actually quite touristy now, and there's regular restaurants, regular bars, that kind of thing. But there is a certain area of town where you do see prostitutes in the windows, and the reason they call it the red light district, at night they have red lights around these windows. Photography and video is strictly prohibited for obvious reasons. But you can see here, I got a quick shot of this building here, and this is just to show you, you'll sometimes see women sitting there flirting with guys who pass by, and they have a little curtain there, and you can even see, I got a little shot of this setup here. You can see they've got the curtain, they got a bed inside, and so yes, prostitution is legal. It's highly regulated. I even saw a sign for a prostitution chamber of commerce. There's even a museum of prostitution. But the point I wanted to make is that it's a very small part of the city, so you could literally go to Amsterdam and you don't have to even go through this area. And also, while I'm talking about the red light district, I might as well bring up the marijuana in Amsterdam. And nowadays it's not really as big of a deal, I guess, because it's legal in so many places. But Amsterdam does have legal legal marijuana. They sell it in coffee shops. I don't personally partake, but you have to actually go to the coffee shops to get that because they are the only authorized sellers in the city. All right, so that's a little bit about the red light district. And like I said, it's actually a whole tourist zone of town that nowadays is not really as seedy as it used to be. It's very much like regular restaurants, regular bars, regular canals to walk around and all that. So that's a little demystifying the whole thing about the red light district. All right, now let's move on to my number 8 recommendation for Amsterdam, and that's part of the city called NDSM. NDSM is a funky artist hipster community across the IJ River in North Amsterdam. You have to take a ferry to get there, and the ferry runs frequently, at least about every half hour, and you can catch the ferry right behind the main train station. And you can take your bikes. Once you get off the ferry at NDSM, you'll see funky street art and kind of a warehouse art vibe. One of my favorites was this incredible mural of Anne Frank. Also there at NDSM there are a few cool restaurants. We found a place called Plek, I believe it's called, which was super cool. Great food, and it even had a small beach area where people were relaxing and enjoying the day. It would definitely be a nice place just to relax for an hour or even more. We walked around a bit more. We found another little restaurant called IJver, I think. It was also a fun spot with super nice people and just a fun atmosphere.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice day, guys.
Oh God, no.
And then walking a bit more, we saw some more street art, and then we took the ferry back to the main part of Amsterdam. Overall, NDSM is a cool place to check out for a couple of hours. It's a bit off the beaten path, so it's kind of fun to explore that side of the river. Next up, it's shopping on the 9 streets. This is a famous boutique part of town. You can see here that even the street signs reference the 9 streets. It's really more like 3 streets, but 9 blocks in between the canals. It's known for its boutique shopping. This is mostly women shopping, to be honest, so your lady will be quite happy, as was Stephanie. There is also good shopping in a similar but different area of town that you may have heard of called the Jordan area. I heard a lot about Jordan through the other travel videos, and it was kind of hyped up. It's really just another neighborhood with some of these quaint shops and restaurants. It's all pretty close by, as you can see from that map, but the point is there is a lot of boutique shopping to do around Amsterdam. Next up on the list, and staying with the shopping theme, you should check out the local outdoor markets. We found 2 different outdoor markets in Amsterdam. The first was the largest in the city, called the Albert Koop Street Market. Again, I'm sure my pronunciation is off, but you get the idea. I'll spell it for you. Albert Koop or something. Farmer's market, a bunch of other items. The market goes on for several blocks. You can find about everything. I think it's a daily market situation. We also found a smaller street market called
We found the Tin Kate Market. I'm sure that's not how you spell it or pronounce it, but that's how you spell it. Tin Kate.
Right there.
I'll show you here. So it's just a street market that they have every day, like a farmer's market situation. And they have cheese, fruits, some other items. Next up is to simply try the food. The Netherlands is maybe not known for its cuisine, but the fact is it's a bit like the US, and it's a melting pot for good food choices, a variety from all over the world. You don't have to look very hard to find some incredible meals. Now, there are a couple of famous local foods that I'll point out, a couple of street food specialties. First, you have the stroopwafel, seen here. It is a little flat waffle cookie treat. It's quite good. It's more of a sweet dessert type of food. Another local favorite is the herring fish. This is more of an acquired taste. It's a whole herring fish that you eat with a bunch of chopped onions all over it. I tried it and I was not a big fan, to be honest, but many people like it. This lady here is eating it, I guess, like you're supposed to eat it. Looks yummy, right? Some other stuff you'll find a lot of places that sell French fries only. They don't call them French fries. I think they're just called frites. Overall, we had some great food throughout the Netherlands. We even took a food and pub tour in Amsterdam, and that was a great time. Next up, we're going to leave Amsterdam for our final few travel tips. We jump in an Uber and we go about 1 hour southwest to the beautiful and very clean city of The Hague. It's quite a bit different than Amsterdam in that it is much more subdued. You feel more like a local when you're in The Hague, whereas in Amsterdam it's all tourism all the time. But there's still a lot to see and do. The first thing you'll probably notice is The Hague is the headquarters for many international embassies and international governmental organizations. Across the street from our hotel appears to be the Canadian, either the embassy or maybe the residence for the ambassador. All around The Hague here, it's just full-on embassies filled with ambassadors and embassies. It's also home to the International Court of Justice, headquartered in the Peace Palace, and the International Criminal Court. We are heading to a special event at the ambassador residence for the U.S. ambassador. Should be awesome. Look at us looking sharp.
Who's that lady?
We actually got a first-hand taste of the diplomatic side of the city when we were invited by the U.S. ambassador to visit the ambassador's residence and then a big celebration event at the U.S. embassy. It was pretty amazing to see such a patriotic celebration in a foreign country and to witness the close partnerships that the U.S. has with their Netherlands diplomatic counterparts. It was a cool experience for sure. Also in The Hague, there are some great tree-lined neighborhoods where you can walk around. There's also a shopping district and several museums like the Escher Museum, located in this great park with a large sculpture garden. We ended up going to the Mauritshuis Museum, situated on the side of this beautiful lake. Inside the museum, there is a lot of great classic art, including Vermeer's famous painting, Girl with a Pearl Earring. Lots of other interesting art as well, including a few pieces by this guy who shares my last name. Who knows, maybe it's a distant relative from the 1600s. All in all, there's certainly a lot of nice things to see and do in The Hague. Alright, it's time for our final stop on this travel tour. We're here at our hotel in The Hague and we're getting ready to check out a town nearby called Delft. Kind of a weird pronunciation, but it's about 15 minutes south of The Hague. We're going to take a tram this morning, or train. Going to get down there, and it's supposed to be just a really quaint, cute city, Delft. So the tram was about 15 to 20 minutes from downtown The Hague into Delft, just so you know kind of a timeline. Maybe closer to 20 minutes, but here's an entry gate to Delft. The town of Delft is another must-see. It's truly a fairy tale town. As soon as you step into the town, it feels like you've stepped back into the Middle Ages. And just like in Amsterdam, there are picturesque canals throughout the town, even more charming if that's possible. You can check out the town square, which has a little farmer's market in the center of the square, as well as many shops around the square. And everywhere you look, there's this great medieval-style architecture straight out of a Harry Potter book. That's why I couldn't resist. I had to get some drone footage. So we decided to do a boat tour. Someone had recommended it. One of the local ladies working at a coffee shop said, "Oh, we should do a boat tour," and we checked it out, and it's quite inexpensive, like $12.50 per person, and it's about a 45-minute little boat tour through the canal. So we decided to sign up for it. Similar to the boat tours in Amsterdam, you will learn a lot of great history, and it's a nice way to familiarize yourself with the town. The next big thing about Delft, and what it's really known for, is the famous Delft pottery, called Delft Blue or Royal Delft. We went into several pottery shops. We also visited the Royal Delft Museum, where you will learn the history behind the pottery. You can also see the pottery being made, which is quite interesting because they paint the pottery with a grayish-black paint that only turns blue after the pottery goes through the firing process. So that's a quick tour of Delft. We've got ourselves quite a few items. I've got my backpack and everything. We bought some of the pottery, so definitely recommend it. It is really quite nice. Very quaint little village. Tons of stuff to see, tons of shops. So anyway, now we're just waiting for the tram again to get back to The Hague.
All right, that does it for my travel tips to the Netherlands.
Leaving Amsterdam, the I Amsterdam sign behind me.
Obviously, there are a lot of other things you can see and do in the Netherlands, other places to go, but this was just what we did, and it ended up being a great itinerary. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I can try to answer them. If you have other suggestions for other viewers, be sure to put them in the comments below. Other than that, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.